The sun descends beyond the western desert. Golden light bleeds into shadow. The horizon swallows fire. Darkness comes as it always comes, steady, inevitable, ancient. In this hour, the people of the Black Land change. Their voices soften, their movements slow. They know what the night contains. They know the old laws written in no temple, laws older than stone, older than reed, older than memory itself. There are names, names that must not be spoken, not when Ra has descended, not when shadows grow long and hungry, not when the veil between worlds grows thin as papyrus. These names, they wait in the silence. They listen from the spaces between words, and if called, they answer. Always, they answer. Come, sit beside the Nile as twilight deepens. Feel the cool air rising from dark water. The day's heat releases from sand and stone, rising, dissipating, becoming memory. The river flows as it has flowed for countless generations, carrying secrets, carrying silence, carrying the weight of what cannot be named. Listen. An old priest walks slowly along the riverbank. His white linen robe brushes against reeds. Soft whispers of fabric. His bare feet press into cool mud. He moves with the careful precision of ritual. Every step measured, every breath controlled. He knows. The sun has set. The forbidden hour begins. In the village nearby, torches flicker to life one by one. Small flames pushing back the gathering dark. Mothers call their children inside, not urgently, but with quiet insistence. The children understand. They have been taught. They come without question, without complaint. They know the stories. Every child of the Black Land knows. There are things that walk when Ra sleeps, things that listen, things that come when called, and certain names, certain old names, must never cross lips after sunset. The priest reaches a small shrine, weathered stone, worn smooth by centuries of devotion. He lights incense. Thin smoke rises, curling, twisting, disappearing into darkening sky. The scent is familiar. Myrrh and frankincense, sacred resins, offerings to gods who watch the boundary between day and night. He whispers prayers, approved prayers, safe prayers, names that may be spoken, names that protect rather than summon. His voice barely disturbs the evening air, soft as breath, careful as a man walking on ice. In the temple complex of Karnak, miles upriver, the great doors close. Massive cedar panels swing on bronze hinges. The sound echoes through empty courtyards, through forests of columns, through halls where gods are said to walk unseen. The closing of temple doors is ritual, sacred timing. Before full darkness falls, the gods must be sealed within their sanctuaries, protected, or perhaps the living protected from them. The distinction blurs in the uncertain hour, the hour when day bleeds into night, when one world releases its hold and another presses close. A young scribe sits in his small house, papyrus spread before him, reed pen in hand, oil lamp casting warm light across his writing surface. He is composing a letter, but he stops, considers, rewrites a phrase. He has almost written a name that appears in old texts, a name from the time of the ancestors. But it is evening now. The sun has gone, and this particular name, this old name, it must not be written in darkness, must not be formed, even in silent ink. He sets down his pen. He will finish the letter tomorrow, when Ra returns, when it is safe. The desert wind rises as night deepens. Sand whispers across dunes. Soft, shifting sounds, like voices speaking in unknown tongues. The people hear it. They know this sound. They close their shutters, draw their curtains of woven reed, not against the wind, but against what rides the wind, against what listens through the wind. The desert is ancient, older than the river, older than the first gods. It remembers things the living have forgotten. It holds names the living dare not speak. In a nobleman's villa, servants move quietly through rooms, lighting lamps, preparing evening meals, their footsteps soft on painted floors. They speak in hushed tones, not because their master demands silence, but because night demands it, because the hour demands it. One servant is new, young, from a distant village. She begins to mention something, a story from her childhood. An older servant touches her arm gently, shakes his head. Not now, not after dark. The young woman understands. She falls silent. The moment passes. Safe. The Nile flows, eternal, unchanging. Its surface reflects scattered stars beginning to emerge, pinpoints of cold light, the gods watching, always watching. A fisherman secures his boat for the night, tying reed rope to wooden posts. His movements practiced, automatic. He has done this every evening for 40 years. He knows the rhythms. He knows the rules. Before leaving, he whispers a brief prayer, a blessing for the boat, a request for protection through the dark hours. He uses only approved names, only safe invocations. Then he walks home, not hurrying, but not lingering. In the necropolis, the city of the dead, stone tombs rise against the darkening western sky. Silent monuments, houses for eternity. The embalmers have finished their day's work. They wash their hands in sacred water. They purify themselves. They speak the closing prayers. Here, of all places, names matter most. Here, the dead rest, or should rest. But some names, if spoken after sunset, can wake what should remain sleeping, can call forth what should remain sealed. The embalmers know this. They have seen things they do not speak of, not even in daylight. A grandmother sits with her grandchildren. The family gathered in their modest home. Oil lamps burning, casting dancing shadows on mud brick walls. The children ask for stories, as children always do. The grandmother smiles. She knows many stories, thousands of years of stories, but she chooses carefully. She tells of Osiris and Isis, safe names, blessed names. She tells of the creation of the world, of the first dawn, of the victory of light over chaos. But there are other stories, darker stories, stories she will not tell until morning, stories containing names that must wait for Ra's return. The temple at Dendera stands silent, sacred to Hathor, goddess of love and joy and music. Yet even here, even in temples dedicated to gentler gods, the night brings caution. The priests walk softly through dim corridors, their sandals barely whispering against stone floors. They carry small lamps, pools of light moving through vast darkness. They speak only when necessary, and never, never do they utter the forbidden names, the names carved in hidden chambers, the names written in the oldest texts, names of things that predate the gods themselves. In the palace at Thebes, Pharaoh himself observes the customs, divine though he may be, living God though the people proclaim him. He too respects the old prohibitions. His scribes bring him documents to review, records of grain stores, tax assessments, building projects. But any text containing forbidden names, those remain sealed until morning. Even Pharaoh waits for dawn. Even the God King acknowledges powers older than his throne. This is wisdom. This is survival. This has always been the way. The stars wheel overhead, eternal dance. The sky goddess Nut arches across the heavens, her body spangled with lights. The night deepens. The air grows cooler still. In a small village near Memphis, an old woman lies awake. She cannot sleep. She rarely sleeps these days. Age has taken much from her. But memory remains, sharp, clear. She remembers when she was young, barely 7 years old. She remembers the mistake. It was an evening much like this, cool, quiet. She and her brother were playing innocent games. They were speaking of the old stories, of demons and spirits. Her brother, older, testing his courage, spoke a name, one of the forbidden names. He said it jokingly. He did not believe. He laughed. The old woman remembers. Even after 70 years, she remembers the silence that followed. Not ordinary silence, but a silence that pressed, that watched, that listened. Their mother heard. She went pale, white as limestone. She grabbed both children, pulled them inside, barred the door, lit every lamp in their small house, burned incense, spoke prayers, prayers of protection, prayers of banishment, her voice shaking, desperate. The children watched, frightened now, no longer playing, outside. Something moved. They heard it. All three of them heard it. Footsteps, but not human footsteps. Wrong somehow. The rhythm wrong. The weight wrong. It circled their house, round and round, patient, persistent. Their mother did not stop praying. Her voice grew hoarse, but she continued. The incense burned, thick smoke filling the room. The children cried softly. Their mother held them, still praying, always praying. The thing outside, it tried the door. They heard it, testing, seeking entry, but the door held, the prayers held, the protection held, barely. As dawn approached, as the first pale light touched the eastern horizon, the presence withdrew. They felt it leave, a sudden lifting, a pressure released. Their mother collapsed, exhausted. She slept for 2 days. When she woke, she made her children swear by every god, by Ma'at herself, never to speak such names after dark. The old woman remembers. She touches the amulet at her throat, worn smooth by decades of constant wearing. Protection, still needed, always needed. In another house across the same village, a father instructs his sons, teaching them the names, the forbidden names, but only teaching them to recognize these names, texts, to know them when seen, so they can avoid speaking them. This is necessary knowledge, dangerous but necessary. He writes each name on a shard of pottery, broken piece of an old jar. His sons study each one carefully, memorizing the hieroglyphs, the shapes, the signs. Then the father takes each shard, breaks it again, grinds it to powder, throws the powder into the Nile. The names must not remain written, not even for teaching. The lesson complete, the evidence destroyed. The night continues, deep and dark. The moon rises, pale light washing over temples and tombs, over the river, over the desert, over the black land and the red land, both. In the workers' village at Deir el Medina, those who build the royal tombs rest in their homes. These men know secrets. They enter the deepest chambers. They carve the most sacred texts. They see names written in places where sunlight never reaches. Names meant only for the dead, for the gods, for the journey through the underworld. These workers are careful, more careful than most. They have seen what happens when prohibitions are broken. They have heard the stories from other workers. Men who grew careless, men who forgot, men who spoke forbidden names in darkness. Some of those men, they were never the same after. In the vast library at Alexandria, though that great city lies in the future, still, libraries exist. Houses of life attached to temples, where ancient texts are kept, where scribes copy and study, where knowledge is preserved. Even here, even among the learned, certain scrolls are not opened at night. Certain papyri remain sealed after sunset. The head librarian, an old priest, maintains strict rules. At dusk, specific texts are gathered, placed in a sealed room. That room is not entered until dawn. No exceptions, no matter how urgent the research, no matter how important the scholar. Some knowledge waits for morning, must wait for morning. A young priest, new to his duties, once questioned this practice. Why seal away knowledge? Why restrict access? The old librarian looked at him. Long look, measuring. Then he told a story. 50 years prior, a scholar insisted on studying through the night. A visiting scholar from a distant nome. Respected, learned. He dismissed the warnings. Old superstitions, he called them. The librarian, younger then, gave him access against his better judgment. The scholar took several scrolls to a reading room, lit his lamp, began to study. The librarian heard him reading aloud, translating texts, speaking the words, speaking the names. Near midnight, the sounds changed. The scholar's voice, different, strained, frightened. Then silence, complete silence. The librarian waited, debating. Then he gathered other priests. They opened a door together. The scholar sat at his table, scrolls spread before him, lamp still burning, but his eyes stared at something in the corner of the room, something they could not see. He did not respond to the voices, did not move, did not blink. They carried him out. He never spoke again. Never. He lived 20 more years, silent, staring, always staring at things others could not see. The young priest understood. He never questioned the policy again. Now the library rests in darkness, certain rooms sealed, certain knowledge sleeping, waiting for Ra's return. This is wisdom bought with suffering. This is caution earned through tragedy. The papyri can wait. The dead names can wait. They are patient. They have always been patient. Time means nothing to them. They exist outside time, beyond time, in places where past and future collapse into eternal present. In the temple of Ptah at Memphis, the creator god, the god who spoke the world into being. The priests understand the power of words, of names, of sound itself. They know that creation began with speech, that words have substance, that names have weight, reality. In the temple's inner sanctum, where only the highest priests may enter, certain names are carved, hidden names, secret names, names of power so great they must be sealed away. These chambers are opened only during specific rituals, only in daylight, only with extensive preparation, purification, protection, prayer. The high priest of Ptah, an elderly man, his head shaved, his white robes immaculate. He sits in meditation, the temple quiet around him. He thinks about names, about the forbidden knowledge he carries, the burden of knowing what must not be spoken. He learned these names when he was young, when he became a high priest. The knowledge passed to him in whispered ceremony by his predecessor, as it had been passed for countless generations. Each high priest learns, each high priest guards, each high priest eventually passes the knowledge forward, an unbroken chain, stretching back to the first time, to the age of the gods themselves. Some of these names, they are names of gods, but not the gods in temples, not the gods people worship. These are older gods, gods who existed before creation, gods who swim in the waters of none, the primordial ocean, the chaos before order. These gods, they do not love humanity. They do not care for offerings. They predate such concepts. They are raw force, unformed potential, dangerous. Their names are forbidden because to speak them, to call them, is to invite chaos back into ordered world, is to crack the foundations of Ma'at, is to threaten the balance that keeps existence existing. The high priest knows. There have been times, rare times, when these names were spoken deliberately, in dire circumstance, when Egypt faced extinction, when enemies threatened to destroy everything. There are legends, whispered histories, of priests who spoke the forbidden names, summoned the primordial forces, unleashed them against invaders. The enemies were destroyed, always destroyed, utterly. But the priests who spoke, they were destroyed too, consumed, devoured by what they summoned. Necessary sacrifice, terrible price. The temple bell sounds softly, marking the hour, the deep night hour, when the veil is thinnest. The priest rises. He walks through dark corridors, his lamp casting long shadows, shadows that seem to move independently. He ignores them. He has learned to ignore many things. He reaches a small shrine, makes offerings, speaks prayers of protection, not just for himself, for the entire land, for all who sleep, unaware of what presses against the boundaries, what seeks entry, what listens for its name, always listening, eternally patient. In a village near the Fayum oasis, a midwife delivers a child, the baby born just after sunset, the mother laboring through the twilight hour. The midwife, skilled, experienced, she has delivered hundreds of children. The baby emerges, crying, healthy. But the father, overcome with joy, exhausted from worry, he begins to speak, to announce the child's name, the name they have chosen. The midwife stops him, hand raised, firm, sharp. Not until morning, not until the sun returns. No name must be spoken into darkness, not even a child's name, especially not a child's name. The father does not understand. He protests. This is his son, his firstborn. He wants to proclaim the name, to announce it to the gods. The midwife is gentle but unyielding. She explains. A child born at sunset, in the liminal time. That child is vulnerable. The boundary between worlds is soft, thin. Things can attach themselves, things drawn by the speaking of names. If the child's name is spoken now, in darkness, something might come, might claim the name, might bind itself to the child. Better to wait, to protect the innocent life, to give the name in daylight. When Ra watches, when the gods are strong, the father reluctantly agrees. The mother sleeps, exhausted. The baby lies wrapped in soft linen, unnamed, protected by silence, by patience. The midwife sits watch. She will stay until dawn. She does this for all sunset births. She has seen what happens when parents are careless. Children who grow strange, who speak to empty air, who see things, who are troubled their entire lives by something that attached itself at the moment of naming, something called by a name spoken in darkness. She will not let it happen, not while she draws a breath. The night deepens further still, the hours when most sleep, when even the waking moves slowly, as if through water, through dream. The boundaries blur. A temple guardian makes his rounds, walking the perimeter, checking the walls, the gates, the seals. He carries a bronze sistrum, a musical instrument sacred to Hathor. He shakes it occasionally. The metallic rattle cuts the silence, not to wake anyone, but to ward, to mark his presence, to declare this space occupied, protected. The sound also serves another purpose. It covers other sounds, sounds he tries not to hear, sounds from beyond the walls, from the desert darkness, whispers, calling. The guardian has walked these walls for 15 years. He knows every stone, every crack, every shadow. He knows what belongs and what does not. Sometimes he sees things, movement where nothing should move, shapes that dissolve when looked at directly. He has learned not to investigate, not to call out, not to challenge. He shakes his sistrum. He maintains his patrol. He does not engage. The things beyond the walls, they are waiting, always waiting, for an invitation, for a name, for permission to enter. He gives them nothing, nothing. In a house near the temple, a scholar works late. He is translating an old text, a damaged papyrus recovered from a tomb. The text is fragmentary, difficult. He puzzles over worn hieroglyphs, trying to piece together meaning. He knows he should stop, should wait for morning, but he is close to understanding, so close. The text seems to be a protective spell, or perhaps a curse. The distinction is often unclear. He copies the symbols carefully, trying to reconstruct missing portions. He whispers the words as he writes, testing pronunciation, seeking meaning. He does not notice the temperature dropping, does not notice his lamp flame flickering, does not notice the quality of silence changing. His wife calls from another room, asking him to come to bed. Her voice breaks his concentration. He looks up. The flame steadies. The temperature normalizes. He blinks, confused. For a moment, he cannot remember. What was he doing? The papyrus lies before him, his copy incomplete. He feels suddenly tired, bone tired. He rolls up the papyrus, seals it, extinguishes his lamp. Tomorrow, he will finish tomorrow, in daylight, where things make sense, where the words are just words, where names are just names. He does not know how close he came, how narrowly he avoided. Something The Nile flows, patient, eternal, reflecting scattered starlight. The river has witnessed everything, every age, every dynasty, every civilization that has risen along its banks. It has heard all the names, forbidden and blessed, both. The river remembers, even when people forget, even when knowledge is lost. The river knows. In its depths swim ancient things, things that predate even Egypt, things that remember when this land was different, when different gods were worshipped, when different names held power. These things, they do not threaten, they simply are, existing, enduring, patient as the river itself. A fisherman's son sits on the bank. Despite the hour, despite the darkness, he could not sleep, troubled by dreams. He sits watching the water, the moonlight on its surface, the gentle movement, soothing. His grandfather appears beside him, moving quietly despite his age. He sits without speaking. They watch the water together. Finally, the old man speaks, voice soft as the night itself. You feel it. The boy nods. Sometimes I hear things. The grandfather is quiet. Then, we all do, if we listen. But we must be careful what we hear, more careful what we answer to, most careful what we name. The boy asks, why? Why must we be so careful? The grandfather watches the river. Long silence. Then, because names are not just sounds, they are doors, openings, invitations. To speak a name is to call, and if you call, something may answer. The boy shivers, despite the warm night. What kind of things? The grandfather shakes his head. Old things, things from before the pyramids, before the first pharaoh, before even the gods we know. Things that exist in the spaces between worlds, between moments, between breaths. They wait there, in the cracks of reality, and names let them through. The boy is silent, processing. The grandfather continues, when I was young, younger than you, I had a friend, best friend. We did everything together. One night, he found an old tomb, half collapsed, dangerous, but we were young, foolish. We went inside. There were writings on the walls, names, strange names. My friend, he started reading them aloud, showing off, making himself brave. I told him to stop, but he laughed. He read louder. Then, something changed. The air, the light, the feeling. Something was there, with us, in that tomb. We ran, scrambling out, back into moonlight. But my friend, something followed him. I could feel it, see it sometimes, out of the corner of my eye. A shadow, wrong shape, moving wrong. My friend, he tried to ignore it, tried to pretend nothing was wrong, but it was always there, attached to him, following, waiting. Within a month, he began to change, grew quiet, withdrawn, stopped sleeping. His eyes, they looked past things, through things, seeing something else, something we couldn't see. His mother called priests. They tried to help, prayers, rituals, purification, but nothing worked. Whatever he had called, it would not leave. 6 months later, he walked into the desert, alone. No one followed. We knew. He was trying to lead it away, to protect us. He never came back. Neither did the thing. The grandfather falls silent. The boy sits stunned. After a long moment, did you see him? Ever again? The grandfather shakes his head. No, but sometimes. On nights like this, I think I hear him, out in the desert, calling, but not his voice anymore. Something else, using his voice, wearing it, like a mask. That's why we don't speak certain names, why we don't call into darkness, because things can hear, things can answer, and once they attach themselves, they rarely let go. They sit in silence, watching the river flow. The boy understands now, understands the fear in his mother's eyes when he plays too near the tombs, understands why his father recites protection prayers every sunset, understands why certain questions are not answered, certain curiosities not indulged. The knowledge is heavy, but necessary. Every child must learn, must carry this weight, must pass it forward. This is how the people survive. This is how they endure, by respecting what they do not fully understand, by maintaining boundaries, by keeping silence. When silence is required, the grandfather rises, slowly, stiffly. Come, back to the house. Dawn will come soon enough. The boy follows, grateful, no longer troubled by sleeplessness, troubled instead by knowledge. But somehow, this is better. Fear with understanding, better than blind ignorance. They walk together through the quiet village, past darkened houses, past sleeping neighbors, past lives lived in careful balance, between knowing and not knowing, between speaking and silence, between day and night, between this world and the others, that press close, always, eternally close. In the palace at Thebes, Pharaoh dreams. Even gods who walk as men must sleep. Even the living Horus needs rest. His gods stand watch outside his chambers, silent, vigilant. They do not speak, not even to each other. Night watch in the palace is particularly strict. The gods have been chosen carefully, tested, not just for courage, not just for loyalty, but for discipline, for silence, for the ability to witness without commenting, to see without speaking, to endure without breaking. One god is young, his first month on night duty. He stands perfectly still, spear held firm, eyes forward. But he notices things, shadows moving without sources, cool drafts in still air, sounds like distant conversation, but no one speaking. The older guard beside him, veteran of 20 years, he notices the young man's tension, without turning his head, without breaking stance. He whispers, "Ignore it, all of it. Look straight ahead. Think of nothing. Do not engage." The young guard nods slightly, grateful for guidance. He fixes his eyes on the opposite wall. He thinks of his family, of daylight, of anything except what moves in the corners, what whispers in the darkness, what tests the boundaries. The night wears on, hours passing like centuries. Finally, the faintest lightning in the east, dawn approaching, still distant, but coming. The change is immediate, subtle but undeniable. The pressure lifts, the air lightens, the shadows retreat. Whatever haunts the palace at night, it withdraws, yielding to the coming day. The guards feel it. Their shoulders relax, just slightly, still professional, still vigilant. But the worst is past. The darkest hours, the dangerous hours. Behind them now, in the temple of Karnak, the night priests have maintained their watch, walking prescribed routes, tending sacred flames, speaking prayers at appointed hours. They have guarded the sanctuaries, kept the boundaries, maintained the seals, Now they prepare for dawn, for the opening of the temple, for the return of Ra, the victory of light over darkness, order over chaos, life over death. This moment, this transition, this is what they guard, what they protect. The certainty of dawn, the promise of return, the defeat of night, again, always again. The head priest walks to the eastern doors, massive doors, sealed tight. He carries the sacred key, worn smooth by countless hands, countless centuries. He stands before the doors, waiting. The other priests gather behind him, a choir of silence. They watch the east, through high windows. They watch for the first light, the first golden ray, the signal. There, a gleam, the edge of Ra's disk, breaking the horizon. The priest inserts the key, turns it. The lock opens, the seals break. The doors swing wide. Light floods into the temple, washing across dark stone, illuminating columns, revealing chambers, banishing shadows. The priests chant morning prayers, hymns of praise, welcoming Ra, thanking him for returning, for not abandoning them to eternal night. Every dawn is a victory, every sunrise a miracle, never taken for granted, never assumed. The chant echoes through the vast space, voice blending with voice, sound filling stone. The temple awakens, the gods awaken, the day begins. In the village, doors open, shutters swing back, people emerge, blinking in new sunlight, greeting each other, voices no longer hushed, no longer careful. The restrictions lift, the prohibitions relax. Day names can be spoken, day conversations can be had. The world breathes out, tension releasing. Children run into streets, playing, laughing, free again. A mother calls her son's name, boldly, clearly,